Cool.
Portion.
Okay.
Is it because the price?
Price is right. Yeah, it's always received compared to the rest of the city.
Security, certifiable
This
documents,
is better for
things like this,
government
from here to the end.
Okay.
So all the hotels trying to capture per diem. So not a lot of
Talk about
tourists.
the checklist that you have to
We can
Okay.
bring any flight we want. We choose next
Okay.
but we can really milk
Anywhere you like, anywhere you like.
Okay.
Adam's allowed.
Great. Thank you.
And sometimes we use 80% at 80. Sometimes we make it okay, so once we good.
I'm going to get
250.
We good? That's her purse. One of the person's purse.
Hey, Mike. Good. Nice to see you.
All right, guys. Good evening. Welcome to our May 26th second meeting, but real official meeting of May of ANC 3F at Forest Hills, DC. It appears we have a quorum of 4 of 7 commissioners. I'm Adam Tope, the chair of ANC 3F. If everyone wants to introduce themselves real quick.
Andrea Molad, ANC 3F05.
Pat Chakopchik, 3F07.
Mary Beth Ray, 3F3.
All right, so we have an agenda prepared. Are there any additions or deletions of the agenda? No? All right, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so first up, consent agenda, send a approval letter to Friends of Forest Hills Park to use the park for concert series the last Friday of June, July, August, and September. All in favor of consent agenda, raise your hand. All right, passes unanimously. All right, so first up, we'll do open forum. So anyone that has an issue other than Cedric Gardens or Metro or our minutes can come up here and speak on my microphone since we're in a different room. I will note that a few weeks ago, Karen Perry, one of our fellow commissioners, passed away, and it's very sad for our ANC and the ward of her passing. And because of that, there is now an opening for her seat. The Board of Elections declared it vacant, so if someone is interested in running for her seat, you can pick up petitions on June 1st till the 14th, I think. And then there's a challenge period, and then if one person picks them up, they're it. Or if multiple people do it, I think we have to declare an election of some sort. And then there's an election after our meeting, I think is how it works. And the public would come and vote at our meeting, basically. Which, who knows if it's after our meeting, could be quite late. So that is the info on that. So I guess at this point, if anyone wishes to speak, you can come on up to this microphone here and go for it.
Welcome back. I didn't know you were here.
Pick it up.
Okay. Take it out.
Take it out. All right. Is it working?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have 2 issues. One is about Marlene Berlin. Is about a crash my daughter was in due to the construction of BF Saul. She was driving north on Connecticut Avenue and had dropped her grandparents off at the Giant and was approaching the driveway just south of the construction of Park, Connecticut. And there was a van parked to the south of the driveway, a large van. She assumed it was it was connected to the construction. And a car was coming out of the driveway slowly and hit her. Luckily, she was not injured, but this poses a safety problem. She has talked to the owner of the car that hit her, and she has conveyed to my daughter that this has been an ongoing problem, at that driveway that vehicles are parked right up against the southern edge of the driveway. I have contacted Matt Marcoux and Richard Horton, and Matt responded. That was right before the weekend. So I just wanted to report that that is still an issue. I know the manager, the property manager, in an ANC meeting had also mentioned this as a problem previously. So this is still an ongoing problem and safety hazard that I think that the ANC needs to address with BFSOL.
Can you just describe which driveway?
Right, it's the driveway to there. It's one that's right on the edge of the construction site. South. So the person coming out of the driveway, my daughter was going north on Connecticut. So the person was slowly coming out of the driveway with no sight line because of the van that was parked right on the southern edge of the driveway, nose right up against.
And was the van related to the BFSOL?
Unfortunately, I asked her if she got a photo, and she says yes, but of her car and not the van. So the woman that hit her did relay to her that that's an ongoing problem. I tried to get in touch with the property manager today to talk to him, and I did not get a response back. So.
I'm sorry, you said that you got in touch with
Matt Marcoux,
and
head of
Sergeant Matthews?
No. Richard Horton,
With BFSOL?
BFSOL.
Richard Horton.
He is vice president.
And you haven't heard back from them yet, or they responded that there's nothing that they can do? Or
No, I have not heard back.
You've not heard back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've not heard back yet. Well, I think legally, I think there is from what I remember from the previous meeting, there is a line above, beyond which there is no parking. But that was not, that was violated. So what Matt responded was that he would get his inspectors out there and that they would revisit the traffic safety plan with respect to that. Okay.
I'm sorry, the van was parked illegally?
Yes.
But
And
we
it's
don't
a regular
know.
occurrence.
We don't know whose van it was.
No, we don't know. We don't know whose van it was, but there's anecdotal information that people have been parking in that space. Who that is, we just don't know at this point. Now, what I did see today when I was walking toward the subway, they actually have orange cones now in that space.
Do we need MPD to enforce the parking there? Is that something?
That's what I was going to say too. I mean, is that related to the traffic safety plan, having MPD?
That I don't know. I don't know. But I think normally there's a space on, major thoroughfares that there's a setback from driveways that you can't park. Though I did see in another driveway by WAMU, the parking was pretty close to the driveway. So we just might want to revisit that as a general issue so that people have sight lines getting out of driveways onto Connecticut Avenue.
Is there any way one of those weird mirrors, I don't know what they're called, was it, the convex mirror? I mean, would that?
I have no clue.
I don't know.
But I've never seen that on Connecticut Avenue.
If we enforce the law.
I mean, it sounds like MP enforcing, and I had raised that question originally, how you're going to get two cars, one going in, one going out from that little...
Right, dinky.
So maybe it's getting rid of that spot permanently and putting a tree there, or, something to not block it.
Right.
All right.
Well, the cones are doing it for now.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I wanted to announce is that due to the meeting last week on the Connecticut Avenue crosswalks and the issue of what to do about the crosswalk on Chesapeake and the traffic light, the Forest Hills Connection has a survey up about how people use that intersection as pedestrians. So I just want to encourage all of you to, I guess it will mostly impact people in apartment buildings, to get the word out. I mean, I will be getting the word out as well. But if you have any contacts in the apartment buildings, kind of around Connecticut Avenue and Chesapeake, please get the word out. Help us get the word out. Okay? That's it.
Anyone else? Tom, do you want to speak? You have to come here and stand.
My name is Tom Whitley, and I'm a 22-year resident of 3F, or whatever it's called. I'm coming just to make a quick comment about the fact that the discussion that is going on about the development of the Connecticut Avenue area between Albemarle and Van Ness, or Albemarle and Tilden, has raised an interesting issue for me, and that is that I don't think we should have any identification with Van Ness. I think we should call this area Forest Hills UDC. American University has done the same thing up at Tenleytown, and I think it's a very suitable way to re-describe this area, and I just hope that you'll give that some consideration if it should come up. You're not going to do that.
You're looking at me?
Yeah, you're frowning. I
Forest
think.
Hill style guy.
In any event, I just thought I'd make a point of it that Van Ness is not part of this area's history. If you want to know anything about Van Ness, ask me after the meeting, and I will tell you what the story is on Mr. Van Ness.
Thank you. Anyone else?
When is the issue of metro entrance coming up?
I mean,
Word announcements. We're going to do Sedgwick Gardens next, and then we're going to do the Van Ness Metro after
we
that.
can do the metro. Well, we're going to talk about DDOT's proposal to us to talk about weekend closures, but other than that, I don't really have.
That's what I meant. Okay, that's at the near the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shirley, you want to introduce yourself? So I guess next Matt, Shirley, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I would just like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Shirley Adelstein. I live at 3003 Van Ness, and I'll be running for the seat that Karen held. Our community is very, very saddened by her loss, but I hope to be able to continue to give voice to the residents in my neighborhood. Just briefly, I'm a longtime district resident, a federal employee. I also attended a local university, so I understand that our community has diverse needs, and I look forward to being involved to ensure that our community remains a wonderful place to live. I will be staying after the meeting if any of you would like to chat, to get to know me better, to discuss the issues that are going on in our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay. So next up, resolution regarding modifications to interior Sedgwick Gardens Apartment House, 3726 Connecticut Avenue, case number 1503. So historic preservation is discussing this on Thursday. One real meeting ago, we voted to support the historic designation. And as a result of things raised at that, we asked Darrow, who says they're the building owners, to show their interior plans to the residents and try to get some more feedback on that. So last week, we did not have technically a real meeting because we had no quorum, but we still spent a good hour or so, at least, some of that, talking about the interior plans. So basically where we're at is whether we'll offer a resolution or not on these interior plans. Basically what they are is a bunch of modifications to the interior. This includes, I don't have the list in front of me, but it includes installing some additional lights in the ceiling, changing some pipes. They want to build like a glass wall to build an office in the atrium or lobby, and things like that, which they say historic preservation would have a view on from a historic preservation perspective, and basically approve or deny those changes. So basically, I'm just trying to think at this point. So basically, we were asked by Darrow and the Tenants Association, I guess originally. Was it both of them?
It was, well, Darrow came up, Darrow,
Darrow.
their architect came
Yeah.
up to us to speak.
Yeah, so Darrow, who says they are the building owner, there's some issue whether or not they are, but for these purposes, I'm assuming they are. Basically, they approached us to get our view on this, and basically their designation was supported by them, who they say owns the building, and they obviously support the interior renovations they want to do. Cleveland Park Historic Society supports both of these, which they emailed me and said they did. Art Deco Society was also a sponsor of the designation, supports this. At our initial meeting on this matter, the Tenants Association representative did support this, but then they're having issues over ownership and now don't have any say on anything. I've heard from some residents that do support it, some residents that don't support the interior renovations. And then we asked the building owners to kind of circulate this more to get some more speaking about it. And they did an internet survey, they put up the plans, they had a comments box, which seems somewhat reasonable to me. It's not perfect, but it's not bad for a building owner. So that's kind of where we're at. I think at this point we've probably discussed the interior plans for like 2 hours. So I'm not going to really discuss it all that much here. But I guess at this point, I mean, it seems like the building owner, it seems fairly twofold. The building owner and the people sponsoring this designation support these interior changes. I'm not a historic preservation expert, but I don't honestly see them as massively significant. It's not that they're ripping down the atrium or something like that, or doing something drastic. I mean, they're installing some lights, and while some people who are used to the current setup and situation there may view these as drastic, I don't think in the grand scheme of things it may or may not be. Maybe this won't work and they'll have to go back because the residents don't like it. I don't really know. But generally speaking, the proposed things don't seem particularly crazy to me. If I owned the building, they seem like things I may want to do if I owned the building. So I guess at this point, given that, I mean, I'm inclined to just make a motion to support these. Is there a second from anyone?
So your motion is to support the changes
Yes.
proposed by Darrow.
Yes. Is there a second? Okay, then doesn't pass. So next issue, discussion and possible resolution regarding weekend closures of Van Ness Metro Station by WMATA. So at our last meeting, WMATA came and presented, and basically DDOT proposed to us to get information from the neighbors regarding closing the metro station on weekends if it would accelerate the repair schedule. So we did that. We got a ton of emails. I got about 50 more emails than you guys got. Maliki got like 100 else, something like that. I'm not going to ask a resolution on this. I don't know if there is one. Basically, so my feedback that I got was some people didn't care because they're like, I only use it on the weekdays, so close on the weekends. Some people were like, I care because I only use it on the weekends and I drive during the work week. Other people were like, if it makes it 2 years instead of 3 years, that makes sense to me to close it on a couple weekends, particularly if they have like shuttles running every 10 minutes. And then I have other people that are like, I can walk to Town or Cleveland Park just as long as this, so I don't care. So, and then other people are like, no way, because I use the metro every day and I can't walk, or something like that. So there's kind of, it's kind of all over the place. I think what I would do is maybe tell DDOT that there's no consensus on it, just because everyone's all over the place, and I think, we can continue exploring it and getting feedback, but I don't know, I'm not prepared to like support or oppose such a thing. Anyone?
From what I recollect from our meeting last week, the unofficial meeting, was that they weren't asking for a resolution in support or opposition to it,
Right.
but just in support of it being studied. And I'm of the position that the more information we have for this case, the better. And we don't have to weigh in one way or the other, until we have that back. But I think it's worth studying. If there's, I know there would be some people greatly affected of it, both ways. And I think it's worth digging into it a bit more and telling WMATA and DDOT to say, take a look at it, come back to us, but don't do anything until we have a chance to provide proper feedback. And everyone else here in this room too.
Well, I would agree with Pat, and I think it's really important that we not just consider the apartment dwellers and the residents who take the metro, but also the businesses like Days Inn, whose guests are affected by the closure. So I agree. I think we ought to, really try to pin down WMATA and see if there are weekend closures, how much time we would really be saving in the long run, because that doesn't seem clear at all.
It was my understanding from Steve Strauss that he was looking into it, or he was going to look into it.
Yes,
Now,
it was my understanding that he encouraged us to pass a resolution encouraging them to look into it, and it wasn't on the table right now. That because of the traffic flow plan, they had said, okay, this isn't going to work. We're not going to close 2 lanes of Connecticut on the weekend. But and that was kind of where it had stopped. But he said, there might, if you tell us to take a closer look at it, we will take a look at it and can tell you what the, if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, in terms of closing the station, or at least give us the tools to make that decision.
I don't have a problem doing that.
Is DDOT coming to the site visit on Friday? Do we
I
know?
believe so. I mean, Matt,
I think
I would be surprised if, yeah.
I don't think Matt is.
I think Matt had a pre-existing engagement.
Someone else is
yeah.
going to come. I think Steve is as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem making a resolution and say we've gotten some feedback and we can certainly listen. I know other people that are here to talk about it a little bit. That they should explore it and find out more information, whatever it may be. I don't know.
I mean, whatever side you're on in the issue, I don't think anyone's in support of sticking their heads in the sands on it.
Yeah,
So-
no, I agree with that. I mean, yes, I mean, I think Steve's point was that this is pretty much the only city in the world that doesn't do
consider
weekend
it.
closures, and I've lived in tons of cities where it's commonplace that just one station is closed on Saturday to get a lot of work done instead of doing it for a month. So I think that's what he was trying to get, which is funny because they close metro stations in Virginia all the time because of have struggles. So it's interesting how they don't do it in the district for some reason.
I think WMATA's initial sense was that it wouldn't save, at most a few weeks to a month. And so let's not even be talking about it because it's not a lot of time out of 3 years.
Yeah.
But Steve Strauss said maybe not.
That's the case.
Maybe it would be more.
But I'd like, if we don't do it and construction lasts, in the longer part of their estimates, I'd like to explain to people, hey, this wasn't an option. We looked into it. So.
That's fine. So I guess some people had comments on it. I know a handful. I guess we could work our way around this amazing table. So,
You want me to pass?
you want don't worry about
All
it.
right. Okay.
I'm
Or you
loud
can
enough.
either
I'm
come
loud
up.
enough.
Yeah, fix it up.
Well, good evening. My name is Miguel Gonzalez. I'm the general manager of the Basin Hotel. And yes, I'm sorry? The Days Inn Hotel in Connecticut.
Days Inn. The Days Inn.
This is how we feel about the weekend option. First of all, we understand that a lot of work needs to be done. We understand it's going to take a long period of time, but we also understand by closing one entrance at a time, the amount of inconvenience that all the residents of this neighborhood and the transit will have is 50 yards. It's crossing the street, one side or the other, based on where the construction is. That's about all the inconvenience that's planned right now. By shutting both stations, we're going to really isolate the neighborhood. I mean, most people here don't drive. They walk, they use the metro 7 days a week. Most of the employees that support all the businesses around here, from Giant to UDC to the hotel to the dry cleaners, they use the metro to commute to work. We're open 24/7, 7 days a week. It will inconvenience the residents, the services of the residents, if Giant cannot put a full staff, or Giant is going to start spending more money in payroll to bring people in through other means, goods might go up. So it's a big domino effect. The savings on time, especially the first one, was 2-3 weeks, even if it's 3 or 4 months. After 2-3 years of construction, we're all going to become immune to it. So 2-3 months savings is not worth the headache, the unnecessary headache that the neighborhood is going to go through. The amount of taxes that we're going to lose. I was telling Merrick that 90%, this hotel is probably the busiest hotel in the city. Runs 90% year round. Any given night, 30% are from overseas. The only way to travel and to experience the city is the metro. The reason that it's one of the biggest, the busiest hotel is because the price is right. For most people trying to enjoy the city and sightseeing. The next closer hotel to us when it comes to prices is going to be either in Maryland or Virginia. So anybody that chooses not to stay here because the metro taxes are going somewhere else, I'm not staying in the city. It's a huge domino effect to save metro time. That I don't think is going to save them money, because to open up to work on weekends, they're going to spend a lot more overtime. That means they eventually will might pay more for the fare. I think it's the idea of trying to speed up the process is great. The option of shutting down, isolating the neighborhood from the rest of the city the remedy is worse than the headache. This one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Mhm.
We
No problem.
appreciate
Mhm.
you all being part of our community.
Pleasure.
Work our way around. No? Harley?
Miguel, would a shuttle bus mitigate this?
Shuttle bus will mitigate that a little bit. Problem is that because it's so convenient to the metro, there are some hotels in the suburbs that they schedule shuttle services. If you go to Rockville, most of them have shuttle services because there's no other way to reach the metro, so the people get used to a schedule. Here is we might be running a bus for 3 people now and 55 tomorrow, or the next 5 minutes. One of the biggest tour companies in the world is called Contiki. It's from Australia. They run tours there because they're holidays. They get a lot more days off than we do. Normally they schedule 3-week tours, and they either start in New York and then in LA or vice versa. We are the only hotel that they use in the city. They spend 3 days here on every single tour. That's 54 series per year. 54 times, of which probably 85 to 90% are weekends. So we're talking a full bus of people with no other means to transport themselves, who are young adults, so they are not set on a schedule. Basically, they trap them in the hotel and go experience the city on your own, who have very odd hours to come back to the hotel. Okay, especially Saturday nights. It can be at 3 a.m. Making somebody who has no knowledge of the city getting back by foot from either Cleveland Park or Town to the hotel is almost reckless.
But the metro is not open at 3 a.m.
No, Metro is not open 3 a.m. And we might have a couple Saturdays. But on weekends, so yeah, Saturdays you have it at 2 a.m. plus. Saturday, this city has developed drastically over the 5-6 years. Over the last 10 years, I remember when the city used to have only 50 patio licenses, and now we have over 300. That's, outdoor dining. It has changed drastically. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and it brings a lot of people to the city. Another handicap that we have here is this Van Ness UDC. I agree with you, Bob. It's probably one of the few stops on the red line that is not a destination.
That is what?
It's not a destination.
Oh.
Everybody else, you take the metro to go to Cleveland Park for a beer, you go to Chinatown for a beer, you can go all over the city except us. Right now, as is, there's only a few things to do. So we are a commuter station. So we are at the moment. And isolating the area even more, it doesn't help the big plans that we have in mind for this area to redevelop.
Do you have any idea what percentage of your guests rent cars and others? I know you don't probably have it broken down on public transportation versus taxis and stuff, but percentage that rent cars, and then also percentage of you and your employees who drive to work or rely on
that. I can find about my staff. I can tell you probably any given day at the hotel, 60% of the customers arrive there via other means. Either metro, because they fly international, taxi from National or Union Station, tour buses. Only a few drive into the hotel, and the ones that drive come from immediate states, PA, New York, maybe the Carolinas.
Do you have valet service?
I'm sorry?
Do you have valet service for parking?
We have parking.
Okay.
We have parking. We provide parking for our guests. And probably the most value, if you will, cheap. I don't like to use cheap, but it's $20 a day. It's probably half of what other hotels charge, and you have unlimited in and out privileges. So.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the discussion of closing the metro or not closing it on the weekends, and I think there's a plethora of views on that. The issue, my name is Karen Morris. The issue we started this debate with was, why does Metro need to do this while the East Side Connecticut sidewalk is closed? Why can't Metro wait 6 months to start this until that sidewalk is open? If you have to cross Connecticut Avenue at rush hour traffic at Albemarle in Connecticut, you know that it is extremely unsafe for pedestrian traffic. And the closure of that sidewalk has created a traffic, car, human, bicycle mess. And we have had many of these meetings, but I have never heard an answer from Metro about why it can't delay this project. And I'd rather not be distracted by a weekend debate when this initial question has not been answered.
I don't mean to, overly defend Metro, but I'm as annoyed as everyone in this room is with the situation. But they have explained to us pretty comprehensively why.
I've never seen anything
Okay.
in writing demonstrating why, since they apparently only became aware of the fact that the East Side sidewalk is closed when you and the neighborhood brought it to their attention, because Metro didn't take it into its own hands to be aware of anything that was going on in the community. They've not been cooperative with us at all in explaining why they can't put this off.
I think what they have said to us, and you're right, that I haven't seen anything in writing about a sort of comprehensive plan for their schedule of closings throughout the city and the greater area. I'm happy to ask for that and say, you've told us there are supply chain issues, that you have these projects lined up one after another, but they've yet to prove it. I am fine asking for that in writing for you.
I just think this community has a unique issue with the sidewalk.
Yeah, you're completely right.
That Metro did not take into account when it made its plans.
Further on that same point, my name is David Power. I'm her spouse. The government affairs or intergovernmental relations staff person for Metro, Ann Chisholm, did make a written representation to the DC Council chairman. And I've given the email chain to all of you commissioners and to Matt Marcoux and to Adam. In early May 4th, the legislative aide for DC Council Chairman Mendelson forwarded Ann Chisholm's response, which I believe was dated May 4th. And in there, the only written representation she makes about the timing is that alternate stations must be scheduled in the escalator replacement project. In other words, you can't have two adjacent stations have escalators replaced at the same time, according to her, based only on a single source or justification, which is an Office of Emergency Management plan, according to her. I don't think any such plan exists. I don't think there is a plan that says that. She didn't give a citation. She didn't give an attachment. I don't think there is any such document. The document that I think that does apply is the March 30th, 2015 Safety and Security Certification Plan. It's called SSCP. And I gave Matt and Adam the cite to that, and I gave you all, I think, a link to that. But I gave Adam tonight a copy of portions of the Safety and Security Certification Plan, which was issued March 30th of this year, March 30th, 2015. In that document, Metro is obligated to prepare checklists and safety certifications for every major construction project, including escalator replacements. So if there is any plan or requirement based on Office of Emergency Management or safety, it'll be in writing. It'll be on one of those checklists or certifications. They have an obligation to produce that. Otherwise, we can conclude there's no evidence justifying their schedule. So the burden is on Metro to prove the obligation to keep Cleveland Park open now while we work on our station, or to work on our station first instead of Cleveland Park. There's no evidence that they can't work on Cleveland Park now and do ours afterwards. They would claim that since Woodley Park is under construction, Cleveland Park is adjacent to Woodley Park, and therefore the Office of Emergency Management doesn't allow that. But there's no written evidence that there's such a prohibition from the Office of Emergency Management, other than Shirley Chisholm's say-so in an email.
Ann Chisholm.
Ann Chisholm, sorry. Slip of the tongue. Ann Chisholm's say-so. I researched, could not find any other document other than what I just gave Adam tonight that's in the email from last week. If Metro has any justification, let them produce it. Let them show us the evidence for this. On the issue of weekend closures, we're going to have weekend closures or other closures of the system without warning whenever Metro decides that there is overcrowding in the station. So there are going to be random closures based on overcrowding, just like they did in Bethesda. Because according to them, when you only have two escalators running and one of them has a problem, you have overcrowding, you can't get people out, therefore you have to bypass the station. That's the fundamental reasoning behind their bypass policy, and that's in their service advisory, which is on their website. So we're going to have interruptions here, regardless of whether they work on weekends or don't. We're going to have shutdowns and bypassing of the system on an unpredictable basis. So businesses are going to have to plan now for having people use shuttles. Metro will produce shuttle service whenever it bypasses the station. Metro will provide shuttles if and when it shuts down a station for an entire weekend. It said that at the last meeting last week. So we're not isolated. If we shut it down for a weekend to expedite the work, we're not isolated. There's a shuttle service. There'll be buses from Tenley or Cleveland Park. They provide shuttle service whenever they bypass Bethesda for overcrowding reasons. They shuttle people from Medical Center by bus. And they promised, Cedric Watson promised, they would do the same thing here if they have to shut down the station for any reason. So the weekend shutdowns will show us how dependable the shuttle service is, but it won't isolate us. We won't be isolated from the Metro system. They will give shuttle service to get us to the next closest station. So there's no reason not to shut it down on weekends if it will expedite service, if it will shorten the time frame of that construction project. And I think that it should definitely be studied, and the policy man, Mr. Strauss, wants to study it, so we shouldn't stand in his way if he wants DDOT to study it.
Yes, we can find out more about this. Maybe thought about doing like a FOIA request or something to force them to.
Well, that's obviously an option. You could do it too. They might respond more quickly to you. But your initial letter really asks the question why you didn't put it as a question. You made a request. Don't shut it while the sidewalk is unavailable. Well, that implies a question, which is why do you do it now, or what's the necessity of doing it now? You could send them another letter and request documentation, if any, about the hazards they prepared. Sorry, what this safety plan does is create a new environment because they killed a passenger in January. That's why they reissued this. And that's why you're seeing these really disruptive station shutdowns like just happened in Roslyn. Whenever there's smoke in the station, they shut down everything because they don't want to kill someone. And that's what the safety and certification plan is about. They're supposed to evaluate the hazard of any given activity, including escalator replacements, because it's a major change to a facility. And the hazard here would be, getting people out or preventing overcrowding. And somehow they rate that and they create a checklist, and the checklist then leads to a certification or a restriction. You're certified to do this work if you meet a certain restriction. And the restriction probably is something like whenever you're overcrowded, bypass, and therefore you can't bypass 2 stations in a row. I'm guessing at this point, they haven't given us the proof. They haven't given us the written document. But there is one in there, in the system somewhere.
They'll ask for it.
I searched. I mean, that's how I found this safety certification document, is I just did a search on the website. But it took like 4 or 5 searches. The first document I found was something Montgomery County published. It was a fire safety plan that Metro gave them 2-3 years ago. Well, so you find some keywords that way, and then you search on the website. But they don't make it easy to find operational documents, things that they're preparing for particular projects. They don't make those available the same way.
Okay. I'll
Follow
ask.
up in person.
That's fine. I mean, we're meeting with them
Friday at 2.
so happy to chat with all
And
of
if
them
you
on
need a
Friday.
person, a resident to be your requester or your party of interest or anything like that, I'm happy to serve. as
I
that.
don't think we do. We can.
No,
let's
I
just
don't think for
ask.
this.
I think you have better standing than I do.
Don't underestimate yourself.
Yeah, I'll email her and maybe ask her to maybe even bring a copy on Friday or something, and then we can, because who knows, they may not want to do it electronic, I don't know.
Yeah, they'll have a bookshelf.
Bookshelf. Can't wait. I'll let you know what we get. If they give me a hard copy, you can come to our office and read it.
All right. I'll volunteer my weekend.
We'll take a section.
We accept.
Highlighter.
Cool. All right. So, anyone else? Okay. So, I will request that information. I will make a resolution for DDOT to further explore weekend closures and find out more information about what kind of savings or impacts it could have, and I'll just note that we've gotten feedback all over the place and try to summarize that. So is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So I'll do that next day. Okay. So lastly, minutes. There were minutes. Someone circulated minutes last.
Andrew.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? All right. Quickest meeting
World's shortest
in
meeting.
2015.
Thank you
you
for
very much.
coming. It's
Pleasure.
nice to see you. And we are going to make Van Ness a destination.
Good.
Yeah.